Priyanket, make a love shout out like one Priyanket. Hi, hi to make a love shout out to Priyanket. I'm good. I'm on holiday. I'm in Liverpool. And holiday mode. Last day today. Our flight is 11 o'clock in the evening. So we're on the bus to the city of Liverpool. Oh, the master singer is there. Oh, he's in. Silent. Have a nice day, Yaya Bahrain. Serenade the city. So this is Liverpool, and we're on a bus tour. Oh, eating chips. Hi to all friends. Make a love shot. Now the bus tour is starting, so I'm staying on my right side.
So it looks like we're off, folks. Welcome aboard. Those of you who caught the preemptive introduction, I'm not going to repeat it again, but we are
Enjoy
a
watching.
hop-off bus service, and your tickets are valid for 24 hours, so you can use us to sightsee around the city to your heart's content. Our Beatles tours run at 1/2 the hour, so if you booked yourself a Beatles tour as well, don't forget to get yourself on one of them. They take about an hour and a half, and you'll get 48 hours of sightseeing on our hop-on, hop-off buses as well. If you want to get off, we have some red buttons spotted around. Just give them a press, or if you can't find one, give me a shout. I'll shout the driver, he'll do an emergency stop, and we'll all fly off at once. My name is Sarah, and I'm going to take you on a tour around Liverpool.
Enjoy the tour, guys. Enjoy.
And we've got Colin driving us today, so we're in the best of hands. We're actually heading along
Jordans, make a love shout out. I'm on the tour.
And it's the original shoreline for our city. Everything on the left-hand side of this bus is all man-made. If you look to your right, you can see a rather red building. It's called Albion House, and it was originally home to White Star Shipping Line. Of course, they were the owners of the ill-fated Titanic, and despite the popular rumours, it was built in Belfast, not Liverpool. But we did broker it, i.e. we put money up, and 80% of the crew were registered in the city as well. It is locally called the Streaky Bacon Building.
Enjoy the view.
So we're now coming alongside of the first of our 3 graces on the left here. They make up our iconic waterfront, what you'll see on the postcards and the artwork dotted all around the city. And the first of our 3 graces is the Port Liverpool building. It's the oldest of the 3, actually dates back to 1907. And it was originally home to the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board. It's built from Portland stone, as is all of our 3 graces, and a lot of the architecture that you'll see around the city and on the Strand. And the stone itself was actually imported all the way from Cardiff and Bristol area. The design itself, amazingly, considering how grand the building is, was actually a rejected design for the cathedral. So the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board themselves were, at the time, one of the richest companies in the country, on a par with the East India Company. And you can see some clues as to how they made their money from the way the building is actually decorated. If you look at the main entrance, you'll see two slave ships carved above the main doorway. They have statues.
That's the well sa mega lab siya.
And on the gate, you'll see dolphins holding up the planet Earth. So it might come no surprise to learn that they made a lot of their money from byproducts of the slave trade. So on the left here we have a modern addition to our waterfront. This is the black mirror glass apartment block. Made a bit of a stir when it was originally designed. So much so it made the top 10 list of ugliest buildings in the city. And the Museum of Liverpool that you can see opened in 2011, and it celebrates our culture and our history. It's meant to look like an ocean liner, but it also made the top 10 list of ugliest buildings as well. If you fancy a bit of karaoke though,
You see that
karaoke
there, that's the Fab Four. That's the Beatles. That's the Beatles.
Open to the public and it's free to go in.
Dito lang ako. Mas magandang view. Doon ka.
We speak it up on a Monday.
Stay there.
See you later, folks. So we're at our first stop
Sige
on
na.
waterfront now, and on the left hand side we see the Mersey Ferry terminus. Our ferries go up
That's
and
the
down the river
Beatles.
every hour.
You see there the four statues.
And,
That's the Fab Four. That's
in a long line of
Paul
ferries,
McCartney,
the original ferries across the
George
Mersey
Harrison,
actually date back
John
to
Lennon,
the early
and
1200s. When a group of Benedictine monks arrived in the area, they built a priory over
Ringo
the water
Starr.
in Birkenhead, and they set up a ferry service. And the first ferries were actually circular wooden rowing boats that were lit
It's
by
very
candles.
busy statue.
No fire hazard going on there.
Very busy
Didn't have
statue.
such safety issues back in those days.
Dami
And I have to say,
nagpapapicture.
not a trip I'd be undertaking willingly, but it's a very strong tidal river, the Mersey, not the easiest one to navigate. So coming up on our left again now, we have the second of our three races, and this is the Cunard building, originally home to the Cunard shipping line. And this one is the baby of the three, dates back to 1917.
That jello dam mega lab.
In the
Shut up.
basement now you'll find the British Music Experience exhibition, celebrates our country's popular music. And you must forget your
This one
discount
is
for
so
the
beautiful
exhibition.
here.
If you're a Spice Girls fan, and I have to say you've got no excuse.
Highland mega lab. Shut up.
Liverpool is the birthplace of Sporty Spice, and she's brought a lot to our cultural heritage, I have to say. You will be able to see Jerry Halliwell's iconic Union Jack dress on display in there. But I have to say, no shade folks, but we might all need to go on a serious
Enjoy the view, guys.
You're not
Enjoy.
going to fit in, I don't think.
It's lovely. What a Liverpool.
So coming up is the third and probably the most recognisable of our three graces here on the left, and that's the Royal Library building. It actually dates back to 1911, and standing proudly on the roof we have our
A
two
beautiful
lions there.
city.
They're actually 18 foot tall with a wingspan of 24 feet, so you're not going to mess with them. They've got the heads of eagles, the bodies of cormorants, and we have names for them as well. The one looking across the river, we call her Bella, and the one looking across the city, we call him Bertie, and we reckon they've been a married couple for quite a while now. Some of the backs to each other for well
Thank
over
God I'm
100
seeing
years.
him.
Today's a small talk as well done, Samuel. For those of us who are Batman fans, I'm sure we've got a few on the bus today, well, you might recognise the building as part of the Gotham City skyline. They filmed on location here, and the building actually had the Batman logo shining on the side and Batman perched on the roof. So coming up now on the right, you can't miss this beautiful Gothic church. It's the Church of Our Lady in St. Nick's, and it's been a place of worship for over 750 years. Another building not quite so grand on the right here. It's a Pig and Whistle pub. This has been there for well over 100 years. And people say it looks it both inside and out. Another building on the right, very grand this time. This is Derby House. Now this building played a major role during our war effort in the Second World War. Underneath the basement level here we have bunkers that were part of the top secret headquarters for the Royal Navy. And Sir Winston Churchill planned the Battle of the Atlantic in that building. It now houses our Western Approaches Museum, and your bus tickets will get you a discount for the exhibition. It tells the story of the Battle of the Atlantic with the original film footage and newsreels. If you go through the gates, it leads you into Exchange Flag, which is has got a rather grand installation as part of our River of Light at the moment. So coming up on the left, another historical building here. This one dates back to the mid-19th century, and it was the exchange station and the cotton exchange. In fact, during its heyday, most of the trade in cotton went through that building, and the price of cotton for the entire world was set in there. Definitely worth mentioning that Liverpool was the richest city in the country in the 19th century, which goes some way to explain why we've got so many Grade 1 listed buildings. So the Yates' Wine Lodge on the right there is not one of them. As we head down the hill, we do see one of them. This is the red brick Prudential Assurance building. Rather quirky design. It was designed by a local architect called Alfred Waterhouse. He was nicknamed Slaughterhouse Waterhouse. The other thing for red brick.
Maulan
on the right hand side, just by the lights,
dito lang
if you
muna.
fancy a pint or a gin and tonic in a historic setting, you can't get more historic than Thomas Rigby's pub. It's probably the oldest pub in the city. Dates back to 1726, and it still has the original cobbled courtyard where they would have stabled the horses back in the 18th century. So it's definitely worth a visit. So we're heading now into our city centre, and we're coming very close to it. Doesn't really need any introduction.
Ma'am Helen, may gala
It's
sa
just after the lights on the left-hand side, and of course it's Matthew Street. It's the birthplace of the Mersey Sound. It's where the Cabin Club is based, and where the Beatles played over 300 times during the beginning of their career. How any other band got a look in, I have no idea back then.
Salamat,
But still
salamat.
it is. Quite pushy though, isn't she?
Give shout out
But,
everyone.
if you fancy
4
checking out the
million.
Cabin Club, it's open daily with live music. And it
Salamat,
only costs
Toby.
£5 to go in. If you do head on to Matthew Street, do look up onto the right-hand side
Jane
on the
Progresso.
wall, because you'll find a bust
Melody
of
Sakura.
psychoanalyst Carl Jung. And he stayed on Matthew Street when he visited Liverpool, and he actually called us the Pool of Life. And that inscription is underneath his bust. Our next stop that's coming up is for Matthew Street and the Cabin Club. But for those of you who fancy a bit of retail therapy, it's also a good one for that. There's Matthew Street there on the left. And coming up by the lights on the left, we've got the
Mini Bear.
entrance to our Liverpool One and our Church Street shopping centres, where you'll find the Liverpool Medicine stores, the Odeon Cinema Complex, John Lewis's, Marks and Spencer's, lots and lots of interesting stuff. And
Click here to subscribe.
Guys, shout out po sa lahat ng aking mga supporter dyan. Shout out sa lahat ng aking mga member, kay mga Kabindes, kay Tas1968, kay Jig Honson, kay PMC. Ayan, maraming salamat kay
But they do have a dress code on the door. Not everyone gets in.
shout out kay Pambam. Kanina pa tayo shout out sa lahat ng aking mga channel member. Ayan. Ipakita ko lang yung ginagawa ng aking asawa. Ayan. Gagawa siya ng kulungan ng manok. Diba? And thank you so much sa panonood, guys. Maraming salamat.
left again, and you'll see the Victoria Monument. Now, she's standing on the site of what used to be the original Liverpool Castle, dates back to 1237.
Liverpool Castle used to be here, and it was bombed, so nothing is left. The entire castle was
We're heading on Castle Street itself now. I'm going to direct you to look right to the front to the end of Castle Street because we have a beautiful historic building which is our Liverpool Town Hall. Actually dates back to 1750 and it's open to the public.
Nag-kiss na sa ano. Nag-kiss na sa camera. Nag-kiss. Nag-kiss sa camera, Dars.
You can see in design your aim
Yes, hello. Hello. Maglaro ka? Maglaro? Ayan o. Nag-agawa na. Ayan, nagagawa ang galing ko ng kulungan. Kulungan ng baboy. Ay, baboy. Manalo siya.
We're also famous for having the UK's first ever #1 hit single. In fact, Harry Styles cannot in his wildest dreams match the lyrical genius of this song. I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. Just going to big it up a little bit more. It's groundbreaking.
the 30.
It was called How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?
How
And
much
it was
is
recorded
that?
by Lisa Rosa way back in 1953. And she was the first woman to top the UK
Seagull,
charts.
make up shut
So a
up.
bit of girl power thrown into this record
How
as well.
much is that doggy in the window?
So, as you know, Liverpool's famous for its music, for its waterfront, for the ferry across the Mersey, and we also are famous for our football teams as well. We've got a few major teams in this city.
Salamat.
Everton and Liverpool are the two biggies. I have to say, we're not going to mention Tranmere Rovers. They just don't rate. But we're so obsessed with football that we actually have hotels representing our football teams. And they're coming up very shortly, just after the lights. And I have to say, you might find a lot of other things to rival Liverpool in Manchester, but you're not going to find hotels. No such thing as the Manchester United or Manchester City Hotel.
Salamat.
If you can't make it to our football stadia, which if you've got a few days in the city, it's well worth doing. It's a great tour to go on. The hotels have got football memorabilia on display in the bars. So if you look to your left first, just after the lights, you'll see the red brick Dixie Dean Hotel. This is celebrating Everton's top goal scorer. I have to say, didn't have much to choose from. And then right opposite we have the Shankly Hotel. And this is celebrating Liverpool's
The Dixie
most
Day.
successful football manager, of which there were many. So rivals on the pitch and in the hotel business in this city. So we're heading towards our next stop in a second, which is for our museums and our art galleries. But before we get to them,
Enjoy the view,
I'm going
guys.
to get you
City
to
of
look to the
Liverpool.
left again, because we have an engineering marvel coming up for you.
Engineering marvel.
This hole in the wall you can see on the left here is the Birkenhead Tunnel. It actually was opened by Queen Elizabeth in 1936. My great auntie was there. She never let me forget it either. And it's an engineering marvel because apart from the fact that it took 9
Oo,
years
maulan.
to actually build
Maulan.
it, with
But it's
70
worth
positive
seeing. This
roadworks
city is beautiful,
working
but
it.
I'm gonna
Some
come back
actually lost
here
their
on
lives
summertime.
during the process.
Things it's
It's
beautiful
also
here on
one of
summertime.
5 of the longest underwater passenger tunnels in the world to this day. And it only costs £2 to go through. So we have some stunning Grade 1 listed buildings coming up in our New Zealand gallery.
This is a museum.
It's also our next stop. And the first of them is on the left here, and it is the World Museum.
The
which is
World
home to
Museum.
Our planetarium, our dinosaur and our ancient Egypt exhibitions. Right next door is the very grand Central Library, where you'll find original Victorian reading rooms alongside a 21st century makeover. And the building at the very end, hidden behind the scaffolding, is the Water Art Gallery. And they have one of the finest
Meron namang
European
traffic.
art
Meron
collections in
naman.
the country.
So this is the
Not to
museum.
mention a great cafe that does a really good soup and sandwich combo. Very popular. All of these are free to go into, and they're all open today as well. So coming up on the left now, to the front of the bus, you can see a column. It's hard to miss, really. It's got the Duke of Wellington standing on top of it, and his statue
That's
is
the
actually
Duke
made
of
from a
Wellington.
cannon shot that was collected during the Battle of Waterloo. So a bit of recycling. And his name's going to crop up a bit later as well. So on the left, another Grade 1 listed building here. This is St George's Hall. This dates back to 1854. It was designed by Robert
Can you hear the
Cockrell.
commentary?
It's a neoclassical style building, and apparently it's King Charles's favourite building in the world. If you fancy checking out something else,
This garden has a lot of people buried in it on the period where cholera and Black Death.
It has the original jail cells in the basement, a beautiful circular Victorian reading room and library, and some stunning mosaic and marble and stained glass work in the ballroom as well.
So this is
So just on the left-hand side, you'll now see the Hillsborough Memorial, and this is dedicated to 97 football supporters who tragically lost their lives in 1989 watching a game of football. The gardens themselves that are on the left, St John's Gardens, they're an Italian-style garden with a rather green secret hidden underneath that green grass. Because they're actually the site of one of the biggest mass burial grounds in the city. There were up to 30,000 people buried underneath
30,000 was buried on that city, on that garden.
During the cholera epidemic and the Black Death as well. As we head up the hill, you can now see Lime Street Station. This opened in 1836, and it was groundbreaking at the time. It actually
That's
inspired the
train
design of the Gare du Nord in Paris and Grand Central Station in New York as well. If you look to your left, you'll see the other side of St George's Hall now, and you might recognise it as the town hall in Gotham City in the Batman movies. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, it also featured in the Fantastic Beasts movie as well. On the left-hand side is the Art Deco Empire Theatre, dating back to 1925. And the Beatles played their last gig in the city there in 1963. Hidden just behind it on the left is Mar Edgerton's pub. It's world famous because it has a wall, celebrity wall of art, wall of fame, because so many famous people have actually drunk in there, including Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland, and even more mind-blowing, I reckon, Marilyn Monroe as well.
Wow.
Can you imagine she's actually been to Liverpool? And I'm sure she has a champagne cocktail or two.
Marilyn Monroe was in Liverpool.
So this area, back in the 19th century, this was quite a busy part of the city because actually it was part of the main shopping centre in the city. And it also featured a fair number of lime kilns as well, which no longer exist. They were used originally to clean the ships that came into the city.
Coffee.
So it looks like we've got a bit of gridlock right up here.
There's traffic ahead of us. That's not too much.
So it might be before some of your time, this reference, but this road actually featured in the movie Letter to Brezhnev as well. In fact, one of the hotels based on here was the hotel that they actually had in the movie itself, which, as you know, was written and directed by a local playwright.
One million and 14 thumbs up. 1,014 thumbs up. Megalo siya daw.
I know, let me out, I'm not waiting any longer. Now he's been blocked us getting out. Just shove him out of the way. So as we head up towards the lights, let's all cross our fingers that we're going to get through them. I don't think we are. No, it's totally gridlocked up there. But the terrace that you can see directly in front of the bus now, that actually dates back to 1810. It's an example of some of our rather fine Georgian architecture that you'll see dotted around the city. And back in the day, it would have been during the heyday of the cotton trade, it would have been one of the hottest postcodes in the city. It's quite hard to imagine really that a terrace like that almost didn't make it into the 21st century. Unfortunately, during the Second World War, it was very heavily bombed and damaged. But our local council didn't really get their act together. They let it go into rock and ruin. And it got to a point where they were actually planning on demolishing it and putting up a car park instead. Fortunately, we had a very stubborn tenant living in number 51, and she decided to set up a campaign to rescue the terrace, and after a number of years of battling with the council, she finally won. And in 1990, a property developer took it over and restored it back to its former glory.
Quite interesting. So this terrace has lots of lots of
Yay!
lovely terrace. Lovely terraces.
So the terrace itself looks out onto the back of Lime Street Station on the right hand side here. If anyone wants to go up at Lime Street Station, let me know, because otherwise we're going to give it a miss.
Seymour Street.
Because the traffic's pretty bad down there as well. The
So that
station
terrace
itself,
is
apart
lovely.
from being groundbreaking and the first successful passenger terminus in the world, was also famous for a slightly less well, how can I say it, salubrious reason. Because it's the site of the first ever railway passenger fatality in the world as well. And unfortunately, that took place during the opening ceremony in 1836. We actually had a local MP, his name was Sir William Huskisson, and he was a bit of a rail enthusiast. And as you can imagine, they're all gathered there for the opening ceremony, and Stephenson's rocket is travelling into the station, and he decides to step
Yeah,
onto the
brain
track,
may siya
and he was run over and killed. Quite tragic, you might think, but wait till you hear the rest of the story. He was actually crossing the tracks to shake the hands of his arch rival, the Duke of Wellington, then he'd crop up again. And they were all involved in a rather sordid love triangle at the time. Which didn't work out too well for Sir William Huskisson, that's for sure. Can you imagine his poor wife getting the news? Your husband's been run over and killed by a train, and he's been cheating on you. So let's just hope you have life insurance, just lying there.
Hello guys, how are you? We're on a tour.
And it does beg the question really, do MPs get any
We're
smarter
in
than
Liverpool.
as decades go by? Not the brightest thing to do,
This is the
really,
second rotation. So we
In the
decided to
area,
stay in the
as I
bus
said,
because
has
it's
had its fair
cold
share
outside
of,
and
scandal
raining.
and drama, because in the 19th century, this was also our main red light district as well in the city. So I'm sure none of you looking at me all look quite respectable. You wouldn't see dead hanging out down there. And we had a well-known young lady who worked here successfully. Her name was Matthew May. And she was so good at her job, I reckon we would have nominated her as the Christmas Woman of the Year. But unfortunately, the British government just shipped her off to the colonies instead. And she was never heard of again. But she was immortalised by the Beatles, rather cheaply, I have to say.
Look at that.
On
4
their
beers
album
for
Let It
10
Be.
pounds.
And Rod Stewart wrote a song
Shots
about it
for
as well,
one
which was a little bit more
pound and pints from
so you might be
185.
able to see, if you bend down, I can see it now, directly in front of us, halfway up the Lewis's building, we have a rather cheeky naked man statue. And his name is Liverpool Surgeon. Here, I'll move out so you can see. There you go. And we call him locally Dickie Lewis. Dickley, yeah.
Dickley.
Well, that's another story altogether, Colin. I'll tell you that another time. But yeah, Dickie Lewis. And again, an opening ceremony with a bit of a dramatic twist, because they realised that there was a bit of a design issue. And when it rained, the water would hit a certain appendage, and it would look like it's peeing on pedestrians. So as you can imagine, not a good look for a civic statue. Our local council actually had a campaign called Re-Angle the Dangle, and they brought the sculptor back to the city and basically said, remove 7 inches from this man's anatomy, so don't wince all at once, guys. Poor Dickie was not the man he used to be, but fortunately you could walk underneath without getting peed on. There was some benefit. So we're just stopping now for the Adelphi Hotel, which dates back to 1826. When it first opened, it was during the transatlantic travel boom. People were actually jumping on steamships in New York, spending months travelling across the ocean to come and stay at this hotel. And some famous people stayed there as well, including the Roosevelt, Mark Twain, and the writers Charles Dickens and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as well. In fact, the latter, both of them, used to have suites of rooms reserved for them in the hotel, and they come here regularly to write their novels. So Charles Dickens actually would head down to St George's Hall, and he would do what they call penny readings. You'd pay a penny and hear the author read the latest instalment of his novel. He was so impressed with what Liverpool had to offer But he actually named his character Mr. Brownlow in the novel Oliver Twist after this very hill. And the workhouse that features in the novel is based on the workhouse that used to be sited here. It was one of the biggest ones in the country. So luckily that's not in existence anymore. And it was so successful that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle decided to get in on the act as well. And he'd go down to St. George's Hall and do exactly the same.
Artisan, make love shout out, Artisan.
So the hill itself leads us up into our university campuses. It's home to Liverpool John Moores and Liverpool University itself. And our city actually welcomes over 50,000 students every year.
That's a lot.
Getting quite busy, the traffic gets now. Yeah.
Kumusta? Gusto niyo magbingo? Gusto niyo magbingo? Sige, unang bola sa letrang B.
Letrang B.
Set 7. Sa letrang I, 14. Next time na tayo magbingo. Nandito sa walang bingo-bingo.
Sunday mo po. Bukas pala Sunday na, no?
Arman, may galap siya daw. Tour. On the tour.
Ay, bukas pala.
Oo, maulan.
Arman, basta.
Maulan.
Hey Colin, put your foot down. Unwillingness, no red lights, that's it, yeah. So as we head up the hill, I'm going to direct you to the right, and you'll be able to see the tower belonging to the Metropolitan Cathedral. It was actually consecrated in 1967, and it was designed by Sir Edward Gibbon. It sits on the site of the original design, which was designed by Sir Edwin Lutyens in 1927, and it's the pyramids and the crypts that you can see here on the right. Coming up on the left we have another historic building, and this is the Red Brick Victorian Museum and Gallery. It was designed by our very own Slaughterhouse Waterhouse. Remember I mentioned him earlier. And it's the original Red Brick University.
Red Brick University.
It's also home to a very gruesome permanent exhibition of dentistry.
Artisan, may galap siya daw. Tony Mix, may
So the
galap siya daw.
exhibition itself has dentures, wooden ones, belonging to a member of the royal family.
Oo,
And the story
maulan.
goes that in removing them, dentists have to give her 2 bottles of red wine. And as they try to pull them out, the gums came with them. And they're all pickled in a jar inside that
Ew.
museum. So yeah, don't have to put you off the lunch. So we're coming up to our next stop for the Metropolitan Cathedral here, and on the right hand side you can see it in all its glory. It's actually 275 feet tall. The tower alone is 52 feet.
It's okay lang,
And it's
it's
got
okay
4
lang.
bells
I'm
inside that are
still
named after the
in the
apostles,
tour.
but we call them John, Paul, George and Ringo. And we have a nickname for the cathedral as well. We call it Paddy's Wigwam. And it kind of reflects the slightly avant-garde architecture of the 60s. It's a bit of a Marmite building. You either love it or you hate it. And it made top 10 list of ugliest buildings as a result of that. But I have to say, stained glass inside is spectacular. Definitely.
Welcome, Tony. Welcome.
So we're heading now towards quite a unique street. It's called Hope Street. And it's the only street in the world that actually has a cathedral at either end of it. It's also where our next stop is for the Philharmonic dining rooms. And, you know, on a day like today, you might be interested to learn that if you show your bus ticket at the bar in there, you'll get yourself a free glass of champagne. So as we turn onto Hope Street, if you look to the left, you'll see the Everyman Theatre. And this is where James Bond, aka Daniel Craig, started his acting career, and our national treasure Julie Walters as well.
Wow.
So coming up on the right-hand side on the corner is the Philharmonic dining room itself. It's actually a purpose-built Grade 1 listed public house. How we take our drinking seriously in this city. Only the finest establishment. It was opened in 1898 and it boasts a world-famous men's urinal. I bet you can't wait to see that. It's built from pink Irish Connemara marble. It's the poshest key in town for guys. But I have to say, ladies, they let us down badly. There is no marble or gold leaf anywhere in the ladies' toilet. So I'm starting the petition.
Philharmonic
I think we need to rectify
dining
that
room.
problem.
And they put a lot of pink. They put pink marble tiles on the boys' toilet on this Philharmonic from Irish Connemara tiles. The fishing megalo siya.
So we're going to head further on Hope Street now, and if you look to your left, you'll see the Art Deco Liverpool Philharmonic.
Look
Which
at
is
that
actually
green car.
home to the country's first symphony orchestra. And in the foyer you'll find a plaque that commemorates the string quartet that played on the Titanic when the ship went down. Arguably the worst gig you've ever booked in your life, I reckon. Also coming up on the left, one of the oldest streets in Liverpool is Faulkner Street, dates back to 1820. And coming up on the right, this rather grand building here on the corner of Mount Street. Back in the 50s, this used to be the Liverpool Institute for Boys. It's where Sir Paul McCartney and George Harrison both went to school. They learned to read and write, strung a few chords in there. And in the 1960s, it became Liverpool School of Art, and John Lennon and Stuart Sutcliffe both studied art in that building as well. In fact, if you look to your left, the terrace that's on the corner there, Gambia Terrace, at number 9, flat 3, that John Lennon and Stuart Sutcliffe actually had a flat when they were art students. So as you can see, they didn't have far to roll out of bed for their lectures in the mornings.
So this is where John Lennon and Stuart Sutcliffe.
We're right in the heart of the Georgian Quarter here. Very popular with film crews and TV crews. You might recognise some of the areas and the buildings from Peaky Blinders, just to mention one. And our next stop is just coming up now. Woo! Good bit of parking. for the Anglican Cathedral. If you look to your right, you'll see Sir Paul McCartney's Institute for Performing Arts. So if you do fancy a career on stage, this is definitely a good place to go and enroll. Looks like we've got some kind of enrolment going on there at the moment.
Kumusta kayo guys? Salamat. Merong merong bagyo.
Really dominates Liverpool skyline. It's actually over 300 foot tall, and it was designed by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott when he was just 22 years old. Unfortunately, because it took 74 years for the building to be completed, it didn't open until 1978. Poor Sir Giles has actually passed away by then. We never got to see it finished.
Grabe ang lamig. Sobra lamig.
You can actually go up to the roof and check out the skyline and the views, but I do strongly recommend about 3 months CrossFit training. There's over 200 steps to manage. You might not be in the fit state to enjoy the view when you get there. Side of the cathedral, because Sir Giles designed them as well.
How are you deficient? Our managers, you know. Everyone watching the reduction. Kumusta Arman? Hindi ko na siya daw
So we're heading on to Rodney Street now, and again you can see some really stunning Georgian architecture. Also a bit of history coming up on the left-hand side. At number 62, you'll find the birthplace of Sir William Gladstone. I did say his name is proper again. And he was 4 times Prime Minister during the Victoria's reign. As you can see, it's for sale. A couple of million, anybody? No? No takers? And he was the richest man in the country during the 19th century. Probably a wealthier Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak at the moment. And, you know, as with lots of mega rich, he made his money from quite dodgy origins because he was one of the foremost slave traders in the country at that time.
Quite interesting story of this city.
So we actually call this street the Harley Street of the North, and that's because it's full of doctors and dentists and cosmetic surgeons. And for those of you who are well organised and you're planning your summer body for 2024, here's a place to come and sign up. Get a little bit of work done incrementally over the year. I was reading an article the other day actually, and on average, people, you know, celebrities cost them 17 grand a year for basic maintenance. So our next stop is just coming up now around the corner, and this is the St. Luke's and the Bold Street. You can see the church now on the left-hand side. It's a stunning piece of Gothic architecture. It's called the bombed out church locally because it's got no roof. Sadly, during the Blitz in May 1941, the church was hit by quite a few incendiary devices that literally ripped through the roof and all the internal fittings, leaving nothing but the external shell. And it took days to put the fires out because the city suffered so much from bombing during the Second World War. So we actually had a
Bombed
war
out church.
shortage.
Oh, ang ganda dyan.
So we've kept the building as it is as a
siya?
memorial.
Nuts.
And in the garden you can also see a statue that commemorates an iconic moment in the First World War. And that's when the two opposing sides got together and played a game of football on no man's land. The church itself now is host to a monthly arts market in the garden and a very popular beer festival and record fair as well. So So we're now headed into Chinatown, and it's not the biggest in the world, I have to say, but it is one of the oldest in Europe. Our Chinese community goes back over 170 years. Liverpool itself is twinned with Shanghai, and in the year 2000, the People's Republic of Shanghai gifted our city the splendid Chinese arch you're going to see coming up on the right hand side here. Actually has over 200 dragons carved on it, and it's also
Matiling,
where our
may
next
alam
stop
siya na.
is for Chinatown itself. If you ever make it across to China, head to Shanghai,
Ay
and you'll
po,
see
may
a
alam siya
slice
na.
of
Bingo
Liverpool
sa
on their
siya.
waterfront,
Yeah.
because they copied our three
Oy.
graces and built them on their waterfront.
Bingo, bingo. So that's a Chinatown over there.
Saan ang plan?
Chinatown in Liverpool. Tiling, may galap siya daw. The China is small only, but it's very historic. Chinatown.
So check out the archway here on the right, and then the very grand building right next to it dates back to the early 19th century, and it was originally a church,
Wala yung Chinatown.
but it's now a cultural centre called the Blackie, which supports a lot
Sally, may galap siya daw,
of local
Sally.
arts and youth groups.
Kumusta tayo? Tayo po. Kumusta? I'm here in Liverpool, UK. Nandito ako sa UK sa Liverpool. Nag-holiday.
Ikaw lang?
Maulan.
Wala kang kasama?
Wala akong kasama, ako lang.
So the road that we're going to head along now is actually very grandly named Sir George Street, and it's actually
Girly, may galap
named
siya
after
daw.
King George III. He's the one who went mad and had to lock it up for a little bit. Back in the day, it was the richest real estate street in our city, but this whole waterfront was heavily bombed during the Second World War. There's over 100,000 bombs dropped on Liverpool alone. And the only building left standing is on the right here, and it's called Wedding House. It has a mural of Bella, our lifebird, painted on the side. In fact, everything to do with weddings you can get sorted in there. The only thing we won't do is organise a clean-up and a divorce settlement. We have to go somewhere else for that. The area itself is known as the Baltic Triangle,
Meron din.
and it's home to a lot of our cultural industries and a very popular tourism and leisure attraction coming up on the left called the Keynes Brewery Village. You'll be falling over stag and hen do's around there over the weekend. Very popular with them. But it is home to our award-winning Baltic Market, where you'll find lots of local restaurants and bars with pop-up shops there. And the Red Brick Vintage, if you like a little bit of vintage clothing, or you want to buy some original artwork or made by local businesses, well, it's a good place to go. And it's also home to our historic Hayes
Judika,
Brewery as
may
well.
galap siya daw.
It actually dates back to 1850. Been brewing beer that long.
That's brewing area.
So the term Baltic actually comes from Scandinavian sailors and carpenters who arrived in our city in the 19th century. They decided to set up businesses in Liverpool, and they brought with them a local dish called Scouse, S-K-A-U-S, with like a meat stew with dumplings,
Wala, kita ko lang.
and it's responsible for our
Artisan, may
nickname
galap siya daw.
because the locals just liked it so much. They
This one is a brewery.
That's where the name
It's
comes
Keynes,
from. If you do
I
fancy
think,
checking out a bowl of
beer.
stout, I have to say on a rainy, miserable day like today, it's not a bad option. You can go to Maggie May's restaurant on Bold Street. The Fab Four cafe and scouts in the Albert Dock, and the Blue Changes as well of Church Street. All do follow the traditional Liverpool Scouts. So we're heading back down towards the Strand now, and on the left-hand side you can see the Liverpool Marina, where you can find a lot of local water sports. I would say though, keep your mouth shut, you won't swallow any water, and do wear a wetsuit. You do plan to do a bit of wild swimming. There's a lot of jellyfish in them there waters. As we head back towards the Albert Dock, a little bit of a history lesson before the end of our journey, because it might come as some surprise, but Liverpool is quite an ancient city. We date back to 1207, and that's when King John granted us a royal charter. Our population and our fortunes really started to come alive during the 17th century as a result of our connection with the cotton trade and our links with New York and the West Indies. By the 19th
It's kind of
century,
important.
Liverpool was a commercial and trading powerhouse.
It's lovely
A lot of the
here in
industrial architecture that
Liverpool.
you'll see around the country started in Liverpool as a consequence of that. And if
It's
you look to
the
your left, you can
UNESCO
see some
World
of that
Music
in
City.
the Wapping Tower and the Wapping Quay,
A
which
beautiful
date back
city.
to the mid-19th century, 1856 and 1855, I think, respectively. And the tower itself, no one really knows why they built it. Bit of a mystery. There's lots of stories around what it's for. My favourite one is it was built to house a drunken disorderly in the city. So someone did point out recently it's not big enough to deal with the demands. The warehouse itself on the left here is now home to £500,000 apartments. Very fancy. Coming up on the right, can't help but point out the Baltic Fleet Pub. This also is over 100 years old, and it has its own microbrewery in the basement as well. So as I said, as a city we made most of our money from trade, and we can't really ignore the elephant in the room, and that is we made a lot of money from trading people as well, unfortunately. And the archway that you can see on the left here and the promenade played a major role in the slave trade at the time. Between 1660 and 1807, when slavery was finally abolished in this country, up to 3 million African men and women were actually brought through this port en route to colonies in the plantations in America and West Indies. There are actually tunnels that connect the port to rich merchant houses around the city, because some of the slaves would have been auctioned off on that promenade and sold to local merchants. And the tunnels were designed to transport luxury items and slaves under the power of darkness. We probably didn't want to pay customs duties. If you'd like to learn a bit more about our dark world in past, we do have an international slavery museum. They also have the Maritime Museum right next door, where you can see artifacts that were actually
That
salvaged
boat
from the
are
Titanic itself.
houses, houseboats.
As you can see, we're coming towards our last stop. I hope you've enjoyed your tour around the city and learning all about our history and our culture. A few tips on where to go and eat out as well. If you've enjoyed the tour, do give us a review on TripAdvisor. If you would like to show your appreciation, we do have a tips hat by the driver. Don't forget, it's a hop-on, hop-off bus. Our last bus is going at 3:20 today. You are more than welcome to stay on board. But if you do, mine's an Americano with an oat milk, please. And Colin will have a last day. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to get off the bus now. How are you? So tapos na kami nag-bus. We are going to roam around the city now, and it's raining. We're going to that statue. Suotin mo yung ano mo. Dito ka. Punta tayo doon sa ano, statue. Doon sa ano. Suotin ko rin akin, wait. O, punta tayo dyan sa ano. Sa Albert Dock. I'm fine. Ewan ko. Kami nilagay. Ayan, nandyan. Nandyan. Is that you? Yeah, who is it? Who else? Liverpool.
Maula. Paano ba? Ito yung pipili na ganito na.
Halika na sa ulan. Halika na sa ulan. Naka-free kami ng ano, naka-free kami na.
Are you alright, Rocky? No energy to play with. They're so sweet. What happened?
Alright, so we're gonna find some place to use the loo. We're gonna use the loo now. Pasok na kayo sa heart. Pasok tayo sa heart. So that's the view. Is this the village kitchen variety? Megalo shout out. And let's continue the journey. There's a Ferris wheel. Yeah. Pasok tayo dyan. Yun, na-use sa toilet. Long shot. Yeah. You make a little shout. Here. Yeah, Premier Inn. Ito tayo. Okay guys, we have to end the live. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching.